We are going live. Yeah, we are live now. Welcome everyone. Facebook, Twitter, and everywhere, wherever you are watching. We are streaming on every platform. And this is a first episode of Container Labs. Container Lab is a community. It's a lab for those who want to learn about container, those who want to discuss ideas or share open source projects. And also we have a lot of tutorials, those who training material, those who want to learn free. So if you want to if you are preparing for CK, CKD, CKS or LXC or containerization or anything that related to containers, so we have all repo on GitHub called Container Labs. You can search or visit containerlabs.kubedeli.com. And this is the first episode of Container Labs, and we have with us founder and CEO of Okteto. It's a Kubernetes developer platform. And welcome, Ramiro, on first episode. How are you?
Thank you, Sangam. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I'm very excited to be the first guest of the Container Labs podcast. It's very exciting. I'm looking forward to talk more about Okteto, about containers, and learn
Yeah.
more about everything Container Labs. Thank you so much for the
So
invitation.
yeah, you are very active in community. I'm following you from long time, and you always like streaming and sharing knowledge. And Okteto is very great tool I'm using from last 1 year and sharing to community. And little bit about myself. I am a Sangam Biradar. I run Okteto Bangalore meetup also. You can see more content there also about Okteto particularly. And let's start about what is Okteto, how you started this, like what is the idea behind like creating a developer platform, because nowadays everyone is creating a kind of a product that give a service or something, but what we need to focus is for a developer to make everyone like life easy. Because nowadays you can see the container, you need to build a docker file, you need to check the dependencies, you need to rebuild things again and again in that cycle. It's like very painful sometimes. You are creating and building, and sometimes it's very hard to manage those version controls, like it's version 1, version 2. And this is really nice to see how this Okteto is like solving the problem here. Let me share the screen and I can give a little bit more intro around it. Yeah.
Oh, great! There we are. That is
Okay.
the repo. That's how
That
everything is started. Yeah, that's our open
yeah.
source. Okteto is an open source tool. It's a CLI you can install on any machine. Anything: Linux, Windows, Mac. We're working on Mac ARM. Not there yet, but support's almost there. And that diagram there is so kind of to give you some background on Okteto. We started the open source project. I've been working on containers and Kubernetes for some time now, and same with my co-founders. And we kept seeing exactly what you said, that when you're building applications, when you're building container-based applications, it can be very hard. It can take a long time for you to write one line of code and see the results of it. And that is something that as developers, we do all the time, right? You're building a service, you're writing some code, and you're going to write some code. You're going to have to build your container. You're going to have to redeploy the application, whether that's on a local container or on something like Kubernetes, before you actually see the results of your code. And that is something that takes a minute or two, but because you have to do it all the time, it really adds up. So the idea with Okteto was for us to build a tool that will allow developers to not have to worry about this at all. It first started as, how can I write some code, save my file, and see the results immediately on a container running on a remote host, in this case, Kubernetes. And that is the first thing that Okteto does. It lets you write code without you having to worry about all these other steps. If you see the diagram, it just shows you how you write your code, It synchronizes your code into a container that in this case is running on Kubernetes. And that's kind of like the main benefit you get from day one is not having to build containers as you write code and just seeing the result super quickly.
So what are the technology you are behind this? Like what you are using? Or I know that you are using some kind of synchronization between the local machine and you are the cloud. We have Okteto cloud and you are the synchronizing. And this is a really good example to check maybe you are using for production and developer. I think when you talk about a developer that's and production, that's where the containers came into picture to solve
Exactly. That's the other
both
thing.
things.
Like
Yeah.
from a tech perspective, Octeto, we built Octeto using Golang. We
Yeah.
chose to use Go because Octeto depends a lot on the Kubernetes APIs, and the Kubernetes APIs.
Mhm.
I think that the Go version, the client-Go, is the one that has the better support and the easier to use compared to the Python or Ruby implementations. So that's the core of Octeto, Go and the client Go libraries. For file synchronization, which is one of the main pieces that Octeto does, we use another open source project called SyncThing. This is a project that has been going on for a while. It was initially built to help you synchronize files between computers and devices, kind of like a Dropbox, but open source. And we use that along with Octeto to synchronize your files between your local repository and a dev container, in this case running on Kubernetes. On top of that, we also built a service, which is Okteto.com, where for developers who don't want to run Kubernetes, who they don't want to have to worry about running a cluster, having to spin up Minikube or a full cluster on some cloud provider, they can go to Okteto.com, log in, and they get a namespace. Completely managed, they don't have to do anything, it's free to start. And this is a full Kubernetes namespace where you can deploy anything you want, any application. If you're using Helm, if you're using kubectl, if it uses containers, anything that runs on a namespace will run on Octeto. And the idea with this, going back to how everything fits together, is more of we want developers to focus on their applications, not on the infrastructure. I want developers to
That's
write the code, whatever they're good at. If they're writing a Rust service, a Python API, a JavaScript front end, they should focus on that and not have to worry about how do I deploy my application, how do I start a cluster, where do I get the credentials, and then we're building all these other tools to make these code scenarios as easy as possible. But that is where Octeto started. We wanted to give developers a platform where they can simply worry about their code, not all the infrastructure, and then give them the tools to make the development process as easy, as frictionless, and as fast as it can be.
yeah. That is a really like challenging task to like is really boost the developer productivity, and it can solve a lot of things when you go for releasing some kind of product or building some kind of artifact faster. And I like the idea of cloud thing. This is the dashboard and everything. So I really like this idea of synchronizing thing first of all. And let me revisit to octeto.com. If I go to octeto.com and let me, so this is a octeto.com and they have cloud also. So let me share the screen. Okay. So it says Kubernetes developer platform and you can start free. They give a free like version and for the individual developer, and those can create account directly. Maybe those who wanted to learn Kubernetes is good tool. I highly
Oh no,
recommend.
it's great for that because that allows
Yeah,
you to start learning Kubernetes
yeah, rather than
application,
creating.
not at the cluster level.
Yeah, and it can boost the productivity in the way of because it's connected with cloud. You are not rely on your infrastructure. So that's where I see the power of cloud, where things can work fast. And I see the reason behind the using synchronate here. So because of cloud, it can be synchronized faster within a click, and you can debug also fastly. So debug is something you need fastly, and this is a good feature. And you can preview also.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can preview your like what happening logs and all things, and this is very good. And but I have one question for you. So when I have created using like I have log created account on Okteto using particular. I visited Okteto.com. After that, I gave a credential of my GitHub repo, and this is like something you get like GitHub repo where like it's already connected with your Git account.
Uh-huh.
It's not it's not sign up from Google or somewhere like email, just right from your infrastructure. GitHub is now your infrastructure, I think, I guess. But it's beyond that now.
It's,
uh,
it's,
uh,
it's a lot more. That's where you start. You log
yeah,
in and you just, every developer has a GitHub account. You just use that because we want to keep it secure. We don't want to have to store passwords,
yeah,
emails. Just log in with GitHub. And then you're
yeah.
at this point, you already have a Kubernetes namespace. So if you go to settings, as you did
Okay,
right now, you could just download that config file, and
okay.
that
I
is
can
the config
I
file
can
that kubectl needs to talk to this namespace.
and I can connect this config file anywhere, like any cloud, any environment, and it support like all ID or other tool, any kind of like, all tools it can support.
Yeah, anything that knows how to talk to Kubernetes
Mhm.
and knows how to do it at the namespace level will work with Octeto. The only restriction we have right now is
Mhm.
that if your tool needs cluster admin access to
Okay.
Kubernetes, that
Yeah,
might
yeah,
work. But anything else, like you can download that config file and then use
yeah.
K9s to see your dashboard, Lens,
Mm.
Helm, kubectl, pretty much any tool that you already, especially if you're already well versed in the Kubernetes ecosystem, any other tool, you can just use it there.
So if I, let's say, like I have namespace, so I can create like I can get one default namespace, I think, for whatever your Git username.
Uh-huh.
So it's so you get one default.
Yep.
Yeah. So after that, how many like user can create namespaces for
So
free?
after that, we have two different levels of accounts. The free account,
Yeah.
you have one namespace, you have 8 gigs of memory, 4 CPUs. That's the developer account. And then
Yeah.
you have Developer Pro.
Hmm.
Developer Pro gives you 3 namespaces.
Yeah.
And then if you want more, Developer Pro costs, you get a free trial, you get a free 2 week trial. After that,
Hmm.
Developer Pro costs $20,
Hmm.
and you can get, if you want more namespaces, you can just
So
pay.
you can get you can see your limits also. Like,
Yeah, so the we have to pay some limits to make sure that everyone gets a share, uh,
hmm.
fair share, fair use of the clusters, and make sure no one is using too much because you might be taking away from someone else. And those are the main limits. You have 2 namespace on Pro, 4 CPUs per namespace, 8 gigs of RAM per namespace, 20 gigs of storage, and then there's a maximum number of pods, services, ingress, secrets you can create. It's all about, one of the big things for Octeto was building all these policies so that everyone can use Kubernetes
so
without
so
getting into each other's feet.
I can get a picture. I got a good overview, and I have used tool. So let me like again explain a little bit. I can have a question if you get similar question like me when I used first time. So when I used first time, I got question in my mind. Okay, this is not a cluster. This is a only I'm getting access to particular namespace. So I
Yes,
can
correct.
I so I can now need to think about only namespaces.
Hmm.
Okay, I don't need to think about those flags like when I used to use like docker file dash dash network flags. I feel like this all the things that can be, because we are in same namespace. If you are coming from Kubernetes background, you know already what is namespace, and within that namespace we can share anything.
Correct.
And Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, and this is good. I can have one namespace. Let's say I can have a three namespace. I can create one, and okay, I have two. Let's say I have two namespace, and I want to some kind of service. Let's say a captain service, something which is a production, and I can use one like account for particularly to deploy just for developer testing and testing my things my own,
Uh-huh.
and I can move that thing from one namespace to another namespace
Yeah. Yeah,
for
all you have
production.
to do is to deploy it. The idea with multiple namespaces is that is either there's two ways people use the multiple namespaces. One is they want to be able to develop more than one application and they want them isolated from each other. Because one of the nice things with namespaces is that when you switch from one namespace to the other, you only see the resources on that namespace. So when you
Yeah,
deploy an application,
yeah. So
in
I
this
can
case,
get
it's just Helm. The actions only are applied at that namespace. So it's you can think of it as an easy way to organize and mix things. The
and
other
re-
is
and I really like this dashboard thing which is connected and it will show the what happening logs and all. Let me
thank you.
show this button.
Yeah.
I can show some kind of. So one of the cool thing I have this release new release if you don't know, that is this direct from GitHub. You can take direct whatever your repo, just copy paste and just deploy. This is like fantastic. I have not experienced such kind of thing in any platform,
Yeah.
and this is really cool. And we can have a Helm chat also, and this is really cool. You can see the lot of pre-built things already there. You can give
One
a
click.
try, and this really cool thing. I really like this one dashboard, and this is
Yeah,
like
we wrote if you go to our blog on octeto.com, there's a post on the dashboard that really explains a
hmm,
lot of the reasons why we're building it that way, and that's something there about um, making it friendly for developers, making it so that you don't have to even know that you're using Kubernetes if you don't want to know. You know, like if you're building, going back to the example that if you're building a Node.js application,
hmm,
you can build that in Octeto, and you don't
yeah,
even have to run a single Kubernetes command. If you want to, it's there for you. But for a lot of
hmm,
developers, the benefit they get from Kubernetes is the fact that they have containers, it's orchestrated, they have all these nice network features, SSL certificates, ingress, the fact that your application will always be running. You gain all those things. But for a lot of applications, you don't even need to see that. For a lot of applications, you just bring your container, run it, and that's what we want to give developers is this experience where you don't have to be an expert in Kubernetes to
hmm,
develop a microservice, a container-based applications in Octeto. And that is something we're working hard on. I hope we are
yeah.
succeeding on making it easier for everyone to run their apps.
Okay, so now I have just created account. So maybe I think I need to download some kind of CLI tool. You have CLI tool, I think. So let me go to CLI tool, and maybe if you are giving first try, so you have this CLI tool for Mac user, Linux, and all kind of like Windows, and they can go and just copy this particular command, and after that you have direct your Octeto thing, Octeto
Mhm.
CLI on your machine or cloud or whatever, wherever you want to use. And I have seen a lot of command, like a lot of people are using with different cloud vendors like CO Cloud. They are connecting with this, and they are connecting with AWS, and they are now they are using now their infrastructure in terminal. Some of the people are using Git pods and code space, and I can like showcase some of the code base after that, but it's good after installing this one. I think I can showcase how to connect things. Let me reshare my second screen. Yeah, let me reshare so I can show people more around this area. Okay, okay, here you go.
There we are.
Now I have already. I think it's installed now. Okay, now I have.
It's there.
Yeah, it's working live. So now we have Octeto CLI. So what it give you, we will see the little bit around it, what commands. So I assume you already know the container things and how its Kubernetes work. Uh, no worry, we have container labs. You can go and revisit there, and you can learn also. No issue. So let me give you a little bit. Now I have this Octeto command line. So I have checked Okteto. I can build thing. I can create, I think, resources, delete resources, and take down. And let me log in first.
Uh-huh.
I can log in also, I think.
So that's the first thing. When you download there's two ways that the
Yeah,
Octeto CLI can work. One
yeah,
is it works on any Kubernetes cluster. If you have Minikube, if you have K3s, if you have a Kubernetes cluster from Cebo Cloud, from GKE already there, you can just use Octeto on that cluster and you get the basic functionality. You can deploy applications, you can do this live coding mode that I was talking about earlier that we'll show in a second. But if you use Octeto with Octeto Cloud, there's all this other functionality that you can access because Octeto Cloud is more than just a Kubernetes namespace. We have a lot of things around automating application deployment. We include a container registry and a container build service as part of Octeto Cloud to make your life easier. So if you want to use all those nice, well, I think they're nice, all those features, Octeto
yeah.
login is the first thing you have to do. That will connect your local computer with your Octeto account on the cloud. And the very standard, it will ask you for your credentials, it will download some certificate. And after you run it once, you are going to be ready to go.
Okay, so it will pop up a browser directly after that, and after that it can say, okay, just my login to particular user. So let's say like I am running this particular command on particular AWS instance, and I cannot see the browser, so I need to copy this thing in browser. And
If you
after
don't have
that,
a browser, there's one command you can run, which is
yeah,
Octeto login, and then there's a parameter dash dash token.
yeah,
That is very
yeah,
useful if you are on an SSH session or you don't have
mhm,
a browser in your computer, or even if Octeto can't find the browser.
mhm,
That's something you can also use.
yeah,
To get the API token, you just have to go to the Octeto Cloud, go to your settings, and there's
yeah,
a text box where you can copy the API token, and that's what you need to use on Octeto login. But the easiest thing is just type Octeto login, and for most people, that should be enough.
yeah. So after that, let me check, is it like namespace?
Mhm.
So I
That
can,
command will activate your Octeto namespace. It will set up all the Kubernetes credentials you need. So at that point,
yeah.
any
So I
Octeto
don't need
or
to, I don't need to download a kube config. It's good, and I don't need to run those command like
exactly
kube thing configure. Oh, it's
context,
automatic.
any of those things.
So I directly connected to my namespace. So I'm within two command. First login, second direct names. I have direct namespace. Now I can do anything. Let's see more thing around it, and we'll discuss. So first, I have this thing I can use for this one. Let's say I am coming from the background of particular, let's say Docker background. I don't know Kubernetes,
Mhm.
and I want to run these things on Kubernetes. Let's say I have Docker Compose, and I see there is a lot of things like customize, composer, where you can get this Docker Compose file, and you can run this file like wherever you want, maybe on on Kubernetes. It's create automatically generate a manifest. So there are a lot of tools. I have come across one of a tool where you can take Docker run command, and you can copy that command into their website, and they will give you a Docker Compose file. That is
Oh wow,
something I have
that's
few
really
I
cool.
can, and that's really cool. I really like I have Docker run command, I copy, it will give you my Docker Compose file, and I can take that Docker Compose file and I can run anywhere. So those who come from Docker background, maybe you have something called Docker Octeto stack. It's similar
Uh-huh.
to Docker, running Docker.
Yeah,
Com-
that's a
can you
good
talk
thing to talk about. I think it's gonna go really well with the ContainerLabs community.
let
Octeto
me.
stacks came to be because one of the things that everyone we talked to kept bringing up was that for most developers, the Kubernetes manifest format is very complex. And as you said, most developers are really already used to Docker Compose and Docker files. So we created this feature of Octeto called stacks, which allows you to describe your application in a format that is very close to Docker Compose. If you look at it, it's very simple. All you need to specify is the image you want to use, the number of replicas you want running, and your ports. Everything else is optional. You can tell Octeto, do you want this to be publicly exposed or not? Do you want to set up some resources or not? You can extend this to specify, like Docker Compose, environment variables, volumes. But at the core, we wanted to give people a very simple format to describe their applications, because then you can just take that format, run Octeto stack deploy, and Octeto will do its magic and generate and get your application running in Kubernetes. Will generate all the required manifests, all the required resources. But if you look at it like an application defined in Octeto stacks, it's maybe 100, 200 lines. When you compare that to Kubernetes manifests, you're going to have
Mhm.
2, 3, 4, 1,000 lines of YAML. So it's a way for us to give developers a very easy way to get their applications on Kubernetes so they can benefit of all these really cool things that Kubernetes gives you around making your app super reliable, almost instant compute, but without you having to learn all this format. Just bring your Docker Compose. Right now, Octeto Stacks is not 100% compatible with Docker Compose. If you have a Docker Compose, you need to make some adjustments. But next
Okay.
year, we're working on, now that the Docker Compose format is open source, we are working on making it 100% compatible, or as close as we can get, because we want any developer to be able to take any Docker Compose file and simply run Octeto stack deploy and have that running in Kubernetes. And
That
especially if you run it in Octeto Cloud, then you can build it directly on Octeto using Octeto's build service. You can use our internal registry, so you don't have to depend on Docker Hub. You gain all these other really cool things that just let you go super fast. And then if you commit this file to your repo, then as you were saying early, you can just go to Octeto Cloud, copy paste the repo URL, and click
let,
deploy, and you have an
let me copy
application
paste.
running. Oh yeah,
Let
it's right there.
me copy paste. Let me copy paste. I like copy paste.
Oh no, I
Like,
love it too. I love it too. It's the easiest way.
yeah,
You don't have to explain
yeah,
anything to anyone. It just works.
yeah.
Or
Now
well,
I
hopefully
just,
live demos.
yeah, done. I have developed one application directly within few minutes.
There you
Now
go.
I can. Here we go. Okay, it's show the it's processing. Okay, so it's clone from that thing automatically,
Uh-huh.
and what it will do like after that.
So that's where another feature of Octeto gets in place, which is called Octeto Pipelines. By default, if you
Mhm,
put a file called octeto-stack.yaml and your repo, that
mhm,
one, yeah, Octeto will automatically build your images using the latest commits, push that image to
mhm,
the Octeto registry, and then
mhm,
it will deploy your application. And you'll see the logs, you'll see the endpoints. If you want to do something else, you can create another file on your repo called octeto-pipeline, where you can describe what steps you want Octeto to do for you during deploy time. It can be things like building other resources, or maybe your repo on top of a clone, it needs to do a wget to get some other resources from the internet. Maybe you have to download some assets, or you want to deploy something else first. There's it's very flexible in that sense. It's a deployment pipeline you can define, but for most applications, if you just have that file, that Octeto YAML, you can just deploy and run. And in our GitHub org, if you go to github.com/octeto/samples, we have a
Mhm.
lot of samples of how to use Octeto, Octeto stacks, Octeto pipelines. And if you are building applications with microservices, if you use Docker Compose, I really recommend that you check that out, because we're building this to make everyone's life easier. And the more people we have using it, the more people we have filing feature requests, bugs, proposals, ideas, it's going to get better, and it's going to be better for everyone. So please, uh, go there, star the repos, make comments, just tweet at us. We really take it super seriously. We're doing this. I'm a developer. I love developer communities, so I'm really want to build this in the open. So please go there, comments and PRs, issues. All of
Yeah,
those things are welcome, no matter what level of expertise you have. I'm sure you'll find a way to collaborate.
yeah. So I see a lot of examples already here. Like you can build Go, and you can build a Java application, Python. I can see a lot of things which already here in the samples. If you are, I really suggest, if you are a beginner, go clone this repo, github.com /octeto/samples. Go to this link. So it's a link, and you will find a lot of things, and try test out if there is bug. Raised issues are always welcome. There are 8 issues already, so be like, next person. You can always learn. Don't hesitate to ask. So I'll be there in the community. You can ask anything, so I can help out to run these things. And we have already like tested this compose. Let me see, is it running? Or, oh, it's running.
Yeah, it should be running now. It takes like
Oh.
a minute. There you go. It's running. And if you look in the dashboard, there's an endpoint on the right. So Octeto already created an endpoint. It built the image, it deployed it, it created
Mhm.
an endpoint for you, and it bubbles it up on the UI. So you don't have to dig around figuring it out. You just click there and access the application, and you'll have the application up and running.
So I can have application right here. Okay, okay, I can give voting application.
Yeah, this is
Okay,
the famous Docker voting
can,
app where
yeah,
it's a
cats.
microservice. I think it's a Python one, and there's a Redis instance on the backend. So you deployed a multi-service app. It has a microservice. It has a backend. It has
Mhm.
a SSL service, HTTPS certificate. All these different things. It has two instances, so you can build a lot of modern, multi microservice based apps without you having to be an
It's
expert in any of
really,
these things, and
really nice. I can see
that's
the
very
log.
useful.
I can see the logs, and I can see the my resources. Maybe I have some kind of deployment file. Maybe I have a stateful set, some kind of volume, whatever the Kubernetes offers you. You can get everything. You can check the YML file right on the dashboard. So if you want to customize, or it's easy to developer to monitor your resources, how
Yeah.
CPU memory and everything. It's really cool thing. I think is really cool to, and I can click the start development. If it's developed, like I can go to access, and again I redeploy, make changes, and it will synchronize this thing. This is really great. One more question I have around this, like, because if you are a beginner, I want to like just like about this command. When I, let's say, in my machine I have a Docker already installed, okay, and I'm using a Octet also.
Hmm.
So when I build particular image right here on Octeto,
Uh-huh.
so is it going to, like, when I build using, let's say, Octeto build command or something, so is it going to be like build those image on the registry of Octeto? Yeah.
It's there's two yes and no. It depends. It depends on how you have Octeto configured. If
Okay.
this is where Octeto tries to be smart, and if you run that command,
Hmm.
and before running that command, you run Octeto login and you run Octeto namespace, then
Let me clone it, and
it's smart, and it will actually build everything on the Octeto Cloud service. Octeto Cloud has a build service. It runs
Mhm.
build on a bunch of machines on the cloud, so that if you're using Octeto stacks, you don't even need to run Docker locally. Now, you can also use Octeto stacks with any other Kubernetes cluster. If you're using it with a Kubernetes cluster that is not managed by Octeto, then it will push the images to whatever registry you're using. If you're using Docker Hub, if you're using GitHub registry or Quay or any other, it will use that one. So it'll try to be smart. And if it detects that you are running, kind of, you are in the Octeto world, it will be using all the Octeto services. If not, it will use whatever your application is already using. And that is something that, if you remember the Docker days, they always talk about how Docker came with batteries included but replaceable. And Octeto follows the same idea, where we give you everything together, but you always can remove a piece and bring your own. If for whatever reason you don't want to use our registry or our build service, you can use your own.
Yeah, I really like that one, and I really like you're using already a build kit. So let me like refresh what is build kit. Build kit is something which help you to build faster images, which is already used backed by Docker. It's a part of Docker, it's part of Moby project. So if you want to develop service something or to build a artifact images, so build kit will give you that better. It's developed top of I think container D.
Mhm.
So you can build this thing faster, and Octeto give you a remote building a Docker file. And I think that is something like is very important, because if I have like not very good resourced machine, so it's good to develop on cloud, because it makes sense to get your result faster, because end of the day you need that. And is it can I push only to Octeto registry, or can I push this?
Any registry, the Octeto CLI will use your
Mhm.
whatever credentials you have locally and use those to push. So if you do Docker login, you can push to Docker. Again, if
Mhm.
you're using something like GitHub's new container registry or AWS public registry, you can use those as well, and Octeto will just pick up the credentials. Because it's also kind of like separate. Right? You have the build server, it just builds the image, and then it pushes to whatever you want it to be. Could be Octeto. If you do that, you don't have to do anything, because all the identity is the same. If you want to push it somewhere else, as long as your local machine is logged in to use that registry, you will get the image pushed there.
Okay, that is very cool. Let me show this some kind of demo around it. Let me open the file. Okay, let me stop sharing the screen.
Yeah, now that
And
you have the voting app running, maybe
yeah,
an example of
I can debug this file, this running app, and I can see what can I get, like any bugs, or I can I run successfully. That is something in live demo more interesting. Okay, now I can share a screen. Okay, let me share a screen, and I can show the app. I can little bit explain what we deployed using Octeto stack, or you can say like Docker Compose on Octeto cloud. So here we go. Now I have same resources. Okay, I have same example of cats and dogs. Okay, this is my file of code, and I have my code here, CSS file, my Python. This is a Python application. Okay, and I have all the oat counter and everything here. Let's say like I can show you, like, this is a code, Python code, which give you, if you oat like particular cat and dog. Here is a code for that, and we have this one Docker file. Okay, we have this Docker file, and we have this is Okteto stack file. So this is similar to the Docker compose file. So I have built this one, and you can define using like similar how you are going to like describe in Docker compose, like build. You can give a build tag. After that, what kind of, you can give a folder specific, so it can Octeto that directly, if you are running Octeto stack deploy dash dash build command, it's going to build your Docker file first.
Yep.
That is something like very interesting. It will going to build this Docker file. After that, it's going to like get those changes, whatever changes happening in this app file and this thing. So I can change this example to cat dog to something else. Okay, like let me see the option. Okay, here is the option, so I can change this one. I can
We
say,
put like if put your favorite food. Put two food items.
yeah, not food item. I am thinking to put something 2021 and 2020 and 2021.
That's an easy one.
Like I can give a prediction in 2021. Maybe Octeto will disappear.
Oh, no, no, no.
Not Octeto.
Octeto will be used
Uh,
by even more people.
yeah, Kubernetes will disappear because of Octeto.
Yeah,
People can develop like directly.
we'll make it easy for everyone, so anybody can use
Yeah.
Kubernetes without even having to train for it. CKA will disappear and all those things.
So some technology always disappear. Something new came. No, new technology
True,
will come.
true, true,
Yeah,
true.
that is. So we'll give a 2020 and 2021 is coming. Maybe this is the last podcast of this thing
Of 2020.
at Octeto Bangalore Meetup 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So you save the
let's
file.
have, okay, now I have saved the file, I think. Okay, let me get my terminal and I can type Octeto stack deploy dash dash build. Okay, is it saying me?
You are in the boat folder and you have to be on the top folder.
Okay, got it.
To see the dot dot. Yeah.
Yeah, I can give a command. Actually, I'm going to give like two option. Is it like some technology disappear something? But I have given like 2021 is good.
That's fine. I think
Yeah,
that's a good. It's like which year do you prefer?
yeah. Which what kind of I thought like to describe what feature you want next and what feature want to like modify it in new version.
Ah,
Yeah, so I thought I can give that one, but 2021 it came into my mind, so it's good to like, okay, now what's happening?
it's
It's
good.
using build kit, and now
So the first thing that happened is that it's pushing your context to the remote build server. Then it's using BuildKit to build. And if you notice, there's a lot of things that are cached because BuildKit is really good at that. It's really good at determining what parts of your image don't have to be rebuilt. In this case, because we didn't change requirements, we didn't
okay,
change any of
that's
that.
it.
And then it built the code. It pushed the image, and if you look at that, it's already running. It says your image was pushed and successfully deployed. So if you go to the UI now, you'll see that your new application should be up and running.
Yeah, that's cool. Like I like it within how many seconds? 1.3 second, I think.
Yeah, it's 8 seconds for the entire thing to be built,
Yeah,
pushed, and redeployed.
yeah. It's 8.5 seconds, and within like it's depend on how you write these files clears. It's always good to like use multi Like it's use like very good Docker file. That's very good. It can build easily.
It's a good practice, yeah, especially as you get to more
Yeah,
production like applications, you
and
should be using
I can see my
stages.
registry also, where my image is here, or like registry.cloud. I can push this image directly from here to
Yeah.
uh, yeah, that one is there, and let's see the output is working or not. Maybe like 2021 something.
One thing to notice there is that everything in that log happened remotely. So if you don't have Docker installed, if you have a machine where Docker can run because it's very
Mhm.
heavy or you're running multiple things, it's okay. Octeto will run it remotely and you don't have to worry about it.
Okay,
There you
it's
go.
can. Okay, I thought like I can give you what kind of technology disappear, like or what
Well,
I can
in 2020, the Docker shim for Kubernetes is
do.
gonna disappear.
I think it makes sense on that point, because end of the day, if you are accessing something directly, it's give you more power and more easy,
Yeah.
rather than it's like it's like gateway. Docker stream is gateway between, uh, like it's gateway between this container D,
Yeah.
and it makes sense. And I think we need to make product more easy and more faster, and I think that is like meaningful. In September this discussion started. I think it
Yeah.
makes sense.
It's not the decision is I think is the right one. There's a lot of confusion in the community about what the deprecation of Docker means, and for most people, it doesn't mean anything. Everything will keep working the way it is. It's
I
gonna be
really like what I
cluster
think,
developers.
my personal like opinion on that. On containerization, Docker file is the something which is the base of all the containers. Like Docker file is something, and I think Docker is different. Docker is like container is not a container orchestration.
Hmm.
It's like you are more managing things.
Yeah.
And when you think about Kubernetes, it's like I will give a better example. Like Kubernetes is like aeroplane, and Kubernetes like airport. Those who manage those airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good example. Yeah, I like it. You're right.
yeah, like that. This is like we have discussed now till now. Create a Okteto from ground, like account, create account.
So you saw, you log in, you deploy your application, then you made one change, you redeploy, and everything just happened really fast, and it happened remotely. And that is how if you're moving, if you're building applications using Compose, this flow I recommend you try it out. It's a very easy way to start moving your development from everything local in containers to a remote cluster, Kubernetes, namespace. Like that endpoint that you have there could be accessed by anyone. So you could send that to everyone who's watching this, and they could vote. So developing remotely enables a lot of scenarios that are very cool, and especially once you have multiple services. If you're building an application that has 3 4 microservices, it I believe it is easier if you start moving towards remote running things on a remote cluster rather than doing Docker Compose up, because it's just going to be faster.
That is cool one. That is like from my side. Like I really like the Docker stack because it's very easy for a developer perspective. Those who don't know Kubernetes, and those who know Kubernetes, they can leverage, and they can get a custom domain like Okteto. If you buy some like enterprise version, you can connect those things. I think it's really good to see this kind of tool who wanted to like achieve like boost the developer productivity and change that cycle of developing things. Because when we think a developer environment is different, and sometimes developer environment, whatever work in development environment, it not work in production. So it's better to test on production directly. So
Yeah.
i can I can say it's more faster to like build things, and it's like really easy to handle things. Like it's very easy command. It's not like a lot of commands you know to do. And you don't when you run I have run like Okteto stack deploy dash dash build, so it's already building a Docker file for me. So I don't need to like now think about okay, if I forget, let's say every programmer is not a like
Yeah.
they
No,
do
no,
miss,
it's perfect. You
and
forget.
we do mistakes sometimes or running, and it's good if it's built. It's always like in Docker world or in containerization world, the tag of images or the latest version is like very important to maintain the dependencies. So
Yeah.
it's good if you are directly taking all these things from ground, whatever changes, and you are pushing, that is very good. And synchronity is something technology I really like, this concept, taking the binaries and pushing to this. And you want to share anything, any demo, any cool demo, another?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's go to a more complex application. Do you want me to do it myself, or do you want to share it yourself?
I think you can share. I can jump in
Okay,
if I have questions or something I can
sounds
ask.
good. Let's do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Give me 1 second, and I'll show a couple of cool things that we haven't mentioned yet. So I'm gonna share my screen, and here we go. I'm sharing. I think you have to give give me
yeah.
permission or something, since you
Can
are the
you?
host.
Yeah. Can you share the screen, because you are sharing the same screen?
Oh, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share the entire thing. There we go. Share. Okay.
Okay, let me. Can you? Yeah. Can you change?
Perfect. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna change. So what I'm
Yeah.
gonna show you is kind of like the next step, an application that is a little bit more complex. This is an application I built for a talk I gave the other day, and it's called Cloud Native Recipes. This application has two services. It has an API, it has a front end, and it's also deployed in Octeto. One thing to notice here that we didn't mention before is that one other cool way to have your applications run in Octeto is you can add this button. You have this develop on Octeto button you can put on any repo. And when you click on this, this will take you to Octeto and automatically deploy your application. So let's do that. And I click here. It's going to go to my Octeto account because I'm already logged in. It didn't ask for my credentials. In this case, I deployed the application before, but it's running there. This application, it has two services, API frontend, as I mentioned. The API is written on Node.js. The front end uses Vue.js, which is a JavaScript framework similar to React and those. It also uses MongoDB to store, in this case, information about this cloud native recipes thing. So this is running here. We have two endpoints. We have the API endpoint and the front end. So I'm just going to go to the front end while that keeps running. This application is very simple. It shows a list of recipes, and it lets you vote on them. You vote if you like it. You downvote if you don't like it. It's a straightforward app. It's a very typical cloud native application. It has your endpoint, your front end, your back end, your API, all of those things. And anytime you can click on it and you see it votes. And then in this case, this application is busy. It has a problem, which is if you downvote, it
Mhm.
fails.
Okay.
Why? Well, because there's a bug on this code. So what I want to show you is how you go with Octeto, stacks, and all of those things. How do you develop with Octeto? How do you fix a bug in your application? So the first thing you can do is, as Sangam mentioned before, you have all the logs here. So in this case, you can see these are the logs of the API. So you see that it's calling. When I was marking up, it's there. If I go back here, refresh, it will go back and work. If I downvote again, it will fail again. So you'll see that everything is here. But what we're going to do now is we're going to use one of my favorite features of Octeto, which is the capability to synchronize your code from local to this remote environment and troubleshoot what's going on live. So for this, what I'm going to do is, if you go here, you see there's a repo here. In this case, I already have this repo, but let's just imagine I don't have it. And Sangam, anytime, if you have any questions,
Yeah.
and I'll clarify. So as he did, the first thing you do is Okteto login. You log in. I'm going to do Okteto namespace. And in this case, I'm just going to clone this. And I'm going to open this. In this case, I'm going to open the API on VS Code. All right, made a mistake here. Cloud, and now here we go. Perfect. That's here. This is very simple server JS. It has a package. It's a very simple Node.js application, but we're going to connect Okteto to it to develop. So I'm going to open my terminal here. Let's maximize this so that everybody can see what's going on. And another command that we didn't talk on, but that is going to be very useful now, is called Okteto init. So at this point, I have an application that's running. Now I'm going to use Okteto init to figure out, to let Okteto generate a dev environment description for me. So in this case, I have recipes API, front-end Mongo, which, if you remember, matches these three things here: API, front-end, and Mongo. In this case, we're going to look at the API. What Okteto is going to do is going to analyze both my service running, in this case, in Kubernetes, and my local source code to try to figure out what my dev environment looks like. What's going to happen is that it's going to create this Okteto YAML file. This Okteto YAML file is what's telling Okteto what to do. In this case, it's telling Okteto, you're going to file a deployment called API, which already runs there. Instead of whatever image it's running as, you're going to replace that with this image. And this is key. This is the image that has all my developer tools. It has Node, it has my debugger, my dependencies, all of those things. And in this case, it's synchronizing the code from my local folder to this path on the container. There's more things, but we're going to focus on those for now. I'm going to go back to my terminal, and I'm going to run Okteto up. Okteto up is the magic command that you have to run when you are developing. This is the command that's going to transform any application you have running in Kubernetes into an Okteto dev environment. It's going to do two things. One is going to replace the image with the one we defined here. Instead of the Docker command, it's going to run this one, the one we specify here. In this case, I specify bash because I want to open a terminal. And then it's going to start a synchronization service between Okteto and my remote container, in this case, my dev environment, and it's going to check what went wrong. In this case, something went wrong. If you want to see what happened, you can see the logs. But in this case, it says run Okteto V to reset and try again. So let's do that. Something happened. Things go wrong during live demos. Maybe during development, something's missing. So we're going to do it once again. Anything that you run here, Okteto down, Okteto up, all those things will be reflected on your cluster. So let's do it again. Let's cross our fingers, see if it works this time. While this runs, why don't we go back to the UI? And you see that now my API is marked as in development and even has this small Okteto logo. That is so that you can visually understand that this one is the one you're developing in. This one is still running in the same way that production is running. And that's something that's very important with Okteto, is to give you this very realistic dev environment where everything else is running in your cluster the same way that it will be running in production. But this specific piece that we chose, in this case the API, is running with my dev version of it. So I'm here. And just to show you, this is fully configured. For instance, if I do set and grep Mongo, you see that all the information I need for my MongoDB connection string is already there. I don't have to configure anything. If you see this node, it's already running there. I don't have to configure it. I don't have to figure out which version it is. This terminal is running on Kubernetes. This is not my local machine. You do hostname. You see, this has the name of the application running Kubernetes, not my local machine. So at this point, in this terminal, I can do the same thing I've always done. I can do yarn install. If you're not familiar with Node, yarn install is how you install your dependencies. In this case, this is going to install all my dev dependencies, so I can build my application. And then, in this case, I'm going to run yarn dev. Yarn dev is a command that I defined for my application. It's defined on package.json. And what that does is it starts my application in hot reload mode. This means that every time there's a file changed, it will automatically reload it. So now that this process is running, let's go back to my application. Let's reload. Now this application it's calling the process I just started. If you see here, you see that get API recipes is there. For instance, let's upload this once again. You see here that all of these logs are appearing. This looks like it's running locally, but it's actually everything running in Kubernetes, which is it's very handy because I don't have to deal with dependencies. Everything is there. And more importantly, as Sangam was saying, this is very close to what production looks like. So let's go to server. And if you remember, we're going to go back here, boat down, and this is what breaks the application. So in this case, let's look at where our down API is implemented. This up, and this is down. Oh, if you see here, what happens is the down is not even implemented. It just returns a 500. So let's implement that. We're going to take this code, up and down. It's pretty much the same thing. One goes up and one goes down. So I'm just going to copy this code. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to paste my older code. And let's just make sure that what is it doing? It's filtering. It's finding the recipe with the ID. And in this case, instead of incrementing up boats, it's going to increment down boats. And let's make sure our logs fit. In this case, it's the up operation, not the down one. So down. Now, I'm going to save my file now. I have all this code now. I'm going to save my file and take a look at the terminal down here. Save my file. When I save my file, Okteto synchronized my local file into my remote container and restarted the node process. Here, you said I have a syntax error. That's what node crashed. So I need to go line 115, see what's going on. It says that I'm missing a parenthesis somewhere. Where is it? Well, let's figure it out. That is one of the biggest advantages of using Okteto. One, I don't have to build my container. And two, I have something fully integrated, so I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to test things locally and then see if they work in production. In this case, everything is just here. So let's do something. Let's undo what we did here. And let's do the copy paste again. Click save. Again, remember, we have to change this to down boats. We save this file. And in this case, now it restarted correctly. Okay? If I change the string, save it, you'll see that my process will be reloaded again. So every time you save your files, your process gets reloaded. You don't have to build. You don't have to compile. You don't have to redeploy your application. And then we go back here, refresh. And now, let's see, that's a boat. And now it works. Can keep upvoting. And if I go back to my terminal, you'll see that this is changing now. So it's working. At this point, I'm done with my work. So I could just simply stop this, exit, and then do Okteto stack deploy dash build again. The other really cool thing you can do is that instead of starting Node on hot reload mode, what about I just start this on debug mode? And
Okay.
then let's say
Right.
that I'm going to put a breakpoint here. Okteto allows you to connect your local IDE, in this case VS Code, with this remote environment running on a container in Kubernetes and still use things like a debugger. That is a really easy, fast way to figure out what's wrong with the application, rather than having to write a lot of like print lns, build your container, deploy it, rerun the application. You can just Okteto up, set up some breakpoints, and then in this case, I'm going to click this button to start the Node debugger on VS Code. And you'll see this going to stop there. I continue. And then if I go back here, click on download again, you see now VS Code is breaking on this. And if you look at this, this is on Kubernetes. Look at these paths. This is not my local machine. I'm seeing it locally because I have the code, but everything else is running remotely. And I didn't have to install the debugger, do anything else. So in this case, we see that, hey, everything looks good. We can inspect a variable like here. Everything looks good. Okay, we let it go. Whenever we're done, we can just stop the debugger, disconnect, go back to our terminal, stop, and maybe run turn dev again, or whatever you want. At any time when you're done working, you can simply exit. And then when you're done, you run Okteto down, and this will restore the application the way it was before. If you want to apply your changes, at this point, you have two choices. One is commit, push to the repo, and as we did the first time, just deploy direct from Okteto. Or second, I can run a command called Okteto push. Okteto push will take my changes as they are. It will send them to Okteto, so Okteto builds the image and redeploys just that service. So this is a shortcut so that you don't have to redeploy your entire application where all you want to do is see one container. I recommend you do this every now and then because you always want to test things end to end. You want to be able to test that your Docker file still builds, that when you deploy with a Docker file, it actually works, not just on dev mode. But if you notice, you only do this at the end. You don't have to do this after every change. So finally, we go back here. You see that in a second, this will no longer say development. It's going to say running. Now it has my changes there. If I go here and refresh, the app is still running, but now the downvote works. I'm no longer getting that ugly 500 error screen that I was getting before. And this is what Okteto CLI gives you when you combine that with Okteto stacks and gives you this full range of a dev experience. And this is something that as you get into building microservices and more complex applications, I recommend you take a look at this tool. This is the Okteto CLI. And remember, this allows you to deploy your application, build your image remotely, and then put your application in developer mode so that you can synchronize your files and automatically reload your application when you develop. And if you notice, this gave me a very fast cycle. I'm writing code, saving it, and seeing the results. And that for development is very important because you don't want to have to wait for things. You want to be able to think, apply your changes, see the result, and quickly iterate. That for us is the dream with Okteto, is giving you the fastest way for you to see your changes in an environment that is very close to production. In this case, everything is running on my namespace, my database, my API, my front end. I have an endpoint with SSL. I have a database with a volume. All those things are very close to how this application would look like in production. And that is all something that at the end is going to allow you to go faster and to be hopefully a happier developer, more creative, and building all those cool features instead of waiting for images to be built, applications to be deployed, and you having to type all those like super long kubectl commands and writing all those big manifests. Instead, use Octeto stacks, move your Docker Compose to Kubernetes with Octeto stacks, and then use the Octeto CLI to develop your applications.
Yeah, I really like. And one more thing, like I have in mind. Let's say I have
And all
one
of this is what
namespace.
you get. If you go to github.com/Octeto, Octeto is there. Um, for the Octeto cloud, by the way, we have a special promo code just for the members of the ContainerLabs community. If you click right there, you're going to get 2 months free of the Octeto Developer Pro plan that gives you 2 namespaces, each with 4 CPUs, 8 gigs of RAM, and 20 gigs of storage, so you can deploy and develop any application. If you're been waiting to build something, a WhatsApp bot, a REST API, a cool JavaScript-based application, you can just activate that promo code, get all that compute storage for free, and start using the Octeto platform today. And then finally, everything I show you is part of our
Yeah.
open source project. So go to github.com/Octeto, and please start this repo if it's something you like. And as Sangam said earlier, comments, issues, feature requests, samples, docs, it's all more than appreciated. It'll be something great. And we'll really appreciate you
Anything
for being part of the
you want to
Octeto
show
and
your
Container
product?
Labs community. We're building this for developers.
Yeah, this is nice. And one thing I really like about, like, I want to say, when you are explaining thing, one, let's say I have microservice application. In microservice application, what we do, we don't make changes in whole application. Let's say I will build one namespace, like one container for one namespace, one service, and I can rebuild that container only. I can change a particular code into, like, for the services. So it's very good. Those, like, lot of people are adopting microservice, or it's really like some of the people are using to host and manage their blog. That one
Yeah.
also really great. Like, yeah, that one I saw. And one day before, if we're new into the stream, we had a Go for Lab episode 1, where we containerized Spargo. Spargo is a library for machine learning and NLP, and we done all machine learning and NLP on using Okteto. And within some few minutes, we build that thing, and it's really fun. Like building, taking, like, maybe it's Go application, maybe Rust. And tomorrow we have, not tomorrow, next episode of Rust Lab episode 1. I'm going to, maybe I am going to use a debug feature, and I'm going to run my whole workshop within
Yeah,
a
you should do it.
container. Yeah, I can try that one. That one is really nice hack.
Because then you don't
And
have to, your students don't have to install Rust and Cargo. It's all there. We actually wrote a blog post on Rust about a month ago
yeah,
on how to
yeah.
use Octeto with Rust. So check that out.
Let me share my screen. I want to share one more thing. Maybe I thought it will be like helpful for those who want to learn computer science stuff, or any kind of cloud native. Let me share my screen, and now I can go to GitHub. Okay. So we have something called, for especially for India, or maybe Docker Bangalore community, or anyone within the Octeto community. So they can go to call Octeto India. Okay. So we have repo here. I'll be, like, creating examples. So next, I will be, like, creating. You can add here also. You can add your slide if you are presenting in anywhere. You can add your slide here. You can raise a PR. I'll be there to review. And one of the cool thing I have built is presenting a slide. So I take a lot of stream, those who present the slides and everything. So there is a repo. I can show the direct demo. So when I click this direct from Git button, it will pull this thing. It will do all the thing, and it will build a direct on cloud. Just I want to show this demo, so anyone can use this kind of open source, or showcase your like whatever you build. Community like really happy, like really like happy to see a lot of stuff from the community. Let me see, it's taking time, I think. Okay, it's still in process. It'll take a couple of minutes. And if you have, I can take a one or two questions from audience. We have one more one two question. uh, so yeah, so question is from uh, Suji. He is asking, could you compare Octeto client with Scaffold? It can be used both, or Octeto client can be replaced Scaffold. So this is a question.
It's a good question. It can do both ways. Scaffold is very focused on giving you automating all these tasks for you. Like it will automatically build your image and redeploy your image and all those things. Our objective with Okteto CLI is that you don't even have to do those things. It's like you write code and you see the result. You don't have to build your container while you are developing. Now, there's a blog post that someone from the community wrote, and I'll share it later, that you can actually use a scaffold to deploy your applications on Okteto Cloud. So they work together if you want them. You can use one or the other. I do recommend that for when you're writing code, use Okteto CLI. I don't want you to build containers while you're writing code. Just write code. Don't think of anything else. But there are scenarios, especially when you want to automate deployment, when you want to do the same deployment between dev, stage, and prod, where the scaffold CLI is really useful. And that blog post that if you search for Okteto scaffold, it will come up. It's a nice example of how to use Okteto Cloud, GitLab, and a scaffold to build a CI/CD pipeline on Okteto Cloud. It's really cool.
Yeah, let's see our like.
Yeah, just search for
Maybe,
Octet scaffold,
yeah.
and I think
Now,
it'll come up.
yeah, I can
I think someone
search
from the
here.
Bangalore community wrote that blog post, maybe.
Yeah, I think Octeto scaffold. Let's see. Yeah, on someone
Number
is in.
three. Yeah,
Yeah, it's on Medium. Yeah,
yeah. Josh Tucker.
yeah. You can invite this guy also. It's really
Yeah,
good.
I don't know.
I
I don't
can
know. But
check.
you know everyone, so maybe you know him.
Yeah, I know. I have contacted already this person.
Perfect.
I have
I mean,
read this blog.
that'll be a really good ContainerLabs video, kind of showing why you need a CI/CD pipeline and how to use a scaffold and Octeto. But that was a good question. That's a really cool
Yeah, I can.
way to use both tools.
Yeah. Yeah, one more thing. Now my application built and running within one click of button. Now my application is running, and I can just click my endpoint, and you can actually get a total uh, Go language. If you want to learn, you can get total workshop here.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
it's
the entire
running
thing
on
running. That's
particular.
really cool.
Yeah, yeah. So you will get this done. Like you will get all this thing, and I'm automating this thing. I'm trying to add a direct IDE tool inside a slide, so people can directly edit here and build here, and it's not going to affect my original code. It will be like just temporary data, or like just
Yeah,
editable and run. It's not going to change my original thing, original file.
it's
And
really
I'm
cool.
experimenting with this, and I have built this one. There are a lot of labs you can access, because Octeto Cloud is free. You can deploy this thing and you can run these slides. And I update this program every time, so you will get fresh like updates. This is from my side, and for the community, anything you want to share? So
For
this
the
is a
community, yes. Mhm.
this is a
Yeah, no,
link.
there's a lot of really cool things. for the
Yeah.
community. One thing is that we are right now trying to plan the next features. One of the things we need is feedback from everyone on what they like about Octeto. One of the coolest things for me that's coming soon next year is we're going to try and make Octeto stacks fully compatible with
Docker Compose.
with Docker Compose. That's a big one. The other one is we have a VS Code extension. You can use that, and you can remote develop directly from VS Code with Octeto. So we're going to be improving that a lot. I want to make that also integrate with the IntelliJ plugins. We have blog posts on how to use it with PyCharm, with IntelliJ, with PHP Storm. So that's something else we want to do more of next year. And the other thing is, I've been inspired by you, so we're going to be doing more videos, video tutorials on Octeto as well. So if anybody has anything you would like to see, any feature of Octeto that you've seen it, but you don't quite get it, or you don't quite know what it's for, please let us know. Join us in our blog, in our Slack community, join the Octeto meetup, and please reach out. As I said earlier, we're really building this for developers. I mean, we're all developers in the team, and we're building this for developers. So I really want everyone's support. And the other cool thing that I forgot to mention is that if you have your own Kubernetes cluster, you can run your own version of Octeto Cloud. If you go to our website and see Octeto Enterprise, you can run your own. It's something that if you want to bring Octeto to your team, to your company, to your school, and for whatever reason you can't use Octeto Cloud, whether because it's not powerful enough for you, or you have some restrictions, you can use that today. You can deploy that on AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. The latest version of Octeto Enterprise can now be installed on Civo Cloud, which is a really cool K3S-based Kubernetes managed service. Really cool team doing their thing. So if you just go to octeto.com/docs, you can install your own version of Enterprise. And if you need our help, just talk to us. There's a chatbot there. There's an email you can reach out if you need something more complex. But you can always go download it. It's a Helm chart, and install it yourself and play with it. And that's something that we have a lot of members of the community doing already. If you go to documentation and then go to the enterprise subsection, the installation guide is there.
Yeah, you can follow this guide and
Get your own.
And
Get your own Octeto just for you and your team. That is something that if you want to use, try it out.
Or you want to create a home lab, you can create a lab own, like you can deploy this on maybe some kind of cluster, Kubernetes, like own kind of Jetson Nano or Raspberry Pi.
That's true.
You can try.
That's a really cool thing. We're also working on with the community is support for ARM clusters. That is something that I'm personally very excited about next year. Between Mac now being fully ARM, Raspberry Pi, K3S. If you like this kind of things, anybody in the community, join our Slack. Just go to the Kubernetes Slack, join the Octeto channel, and we can work on that together. That's a really cool feature that's coming. ARM really is something that's very interesting, both from the client as well as from the cluster perspective, and it's something I'm particularly excited that we're going to be able to support soon.
Yeah, it's cool. Like I really enjoyed this today's session. Like it's too much informative. But it's like those who new to Octeto or Kubernetes, it's like running only Docker Compose file and debugging it, and you can how to debug directly on the Kubernetes using Octeto. It's really cool, and I'll be there. This is my Discord channel link. You can join this. There are 700 people, and there are like there are a lot of Discord channel I manage. So you'll find me in like some of the Discord channels. If you see my name, you can just ping me if you have any questions around Kubernetes, Docker, or anything around cloud native, Go, Rust. I'll try to help you. as much like as possible. And it's good to like collaborate with other communities. So if you want to share anything, if you build something with like Okteto or any kind of tool, or you want to merge those tool into Okteto. So one more thing maybe I forgot to share is that we you can directly add a Helm chart.
Yes.
That is the one of the cool thing. Let me show you. Yeah. Mm. So if you go to settings section, there is a button called integration. You can directly add your Helm URL. So hosted, whatever hosted URL pre-built. So by example, I have added this one. You can remove it also. And after that, you can go directly here in your namespace, and you can just click deploy and change this option to Helm chart. And after that, you have everything. And we have a cool thing, we have pre-built, like if you are a litmus chouse user, you want to use that and you don't have the infrastructure and anything, you can just click here and you will get a YML file, edit here and redeploy. Let me show some of the example, maybe cool one, like uh, I can like run litmus also, I can run. So like this, you can change your YML file or version, or like use this as a base and change your YML file and just deploy it. So if it's really good, if like people, lot of people integrating a lot of things to so like Okteto. If you have your tool, your open source tool, or maybe Helm chat, you can try yourself, and it's really cool thing to integrate and use power of Helm and build your application easily. And by the way, Octeto works with all IDE. Octeto support the Helm chat. Um, Anything you want to share?
Yep. Just a reminder that everything we show you today, the Octeto CLI, as you said, works with any Kubernetes. Like you don't have to use Octeto Cloud. It works with any Kubernetes application. Um, if you want to use cloud, you can use any Kubernetes tool. So it's very flexible. So keep that in mind. You are not constrained by any of the pieces. You can use them all or just one. And just if you're building microservices, Docker Compose based apps, cloud native apps, use Octeto. Give it a shot. It's a single binary. You download it. It's very slim. That's all you need to do. Download what binary, point it to any application you have running, Octeto init, Octeto up, and you will be developing in a very few minutes. And I'm on the Discord that Saga mentioned. I'm also on the Slack, on the Kubernetes Slack. So if you ever want to chat, have any questions, or just talk about dev tools, I'm always there. I'm always looking forward to talking to anybody in the community. It's one of the better parts of building open source solutions like this is being able to talk to other developers and see what they think, what they don't like, what they like. Any feedback, good, bad, or so, it's great for us. So do that.
And
Don't be shy.
anything, yeah, anything, anyone like write blog or want to build anything, show me, post like your share your Git repo, share your blog post, anything. I
Yeah,
will ship you a Octeto swag to you,
there you go.
t-shirt, and for you. So it's good to like help a community to show what possible, or it's always taste something that can help some product, or that can really boost the community energy. And it can give a different options to try it out as
Yeah.
developing such product. And this is really cool. And we have in our community, like we have Sayam. He is also doing a lot of things. You can
Oh
contact me,
yeah.
Sayam, or anyone from the community. We are like one family, so you can share anywhere. You can contact any channel anywhere. You can ask. Don't like hesitate to ask. You can feel free to ask. No matter what, it's you can learn like something new every day. So that's it. And visit a Container Labs. If you don't know, let me show you what we have. And for the Octeto community, what I
Yeah,
am doing,
join the Octet meetup.
yeah, join the
We're
Octeto
gonna do
meetup.
cool things next year. Await for those who join.
Maybe you can like travel here.
I hope so. That'll be a dream. I would love to be able to go there. Maybe next year.
Maybe you have traveled full India.
Yeah. Right before starting Okteto, I was lucky enough that I got to spend some time traveling, and I went to India. I went to Bangalore. I was there for a few days. I went to Mysore. It was really cool. So I would love to be able to go back there and meet more new people, try some new food, see the sights. But definitely would love to. Hopefully, we can organize an Okteto event in Bangalore next year. If
Yeah,
if
sure.
if we can travel, I'm gonna be there.
Yeah, like mi casa tu casa in your language. I know
Thank
that word.
you.
Like your home. So we have a Octeto track, workshop track, which is I'm preparing. If anyone to want to share, so I have first blog. Whatever today we discussed everything in detail. I have created like how the synchronous thing work, what happened, what is like what it detecting, what file, and we have everything. Not Octeto. We have LXC workshop, Docker workshop, CK, CKD, and constantly like adding the tutorials and labs. You can always welcome, suggest, or give a star to this is a open source git repo. Okay, so you can give a star, you can join the community by clicking here, and that's it. You can sponsor also this project, and you can follow me on GitHub, or you can follow Ramiro on like GitHub. So maybe, oh, oops. You can like give a star to Octeto.
That is the most important thing. Give us a
Yeah,
star if you
yeah,
like
give
it.
us help
File
if you like.
issues.
It's
If
really
you Also, if you want to see whatever you want to see, samples, tutorials, let us know. That's something that we've been doing a lot of content, and we want to do more. I feel that's the easiest way to learn. So, just mention what demos you want to see, what do you want us to write about, any questions, anything you have. As I said, we're always looking for help, for inspiration, for maintainers, everything. So anyway, we're right at 10 here. I think
and
it's left there.
go use this code. I
Yeah.
will mention in description, and I will share everywhere in every group, so it can reach more people and they can test out this product. And thank you all of you audience, and there are a lot of questions, and all community members are very helpful, and subscribe this channel. Lot of content coming, like lot helm, grpc workshops. Like this is like starting of the this channel, so support uh, any channel, like anyone maybe and we are trying to do restream like one video. And this is the first stream of we are doing on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and I will try
Everywhere.
to do it in everywhere so it can reach more people. And we are doing this all free for the community, so every can learn. This is just for learning. There is no promotion, but there is a free stuff. Free stuff always welcome.
Yeah,
So
I know,
if you
learn.
try
And
out,
and tell your friends about Octeto if you like it.
yeah, yeah. So thank you all of you. Thanks all of you for joining this episode, and we will see the more exciting stuff. And uh, today 6 we have another session on Go language, machine learning, and NLP. This is going to be like one of the best session. Join if you are
That's gonna
go
be
for
very cool.
you're a data science engineer. Join. You just join. Even so you can learn something new. Yeah, thank you all of you, and thank you Ramiro for joining today. It's
Thanks,
wonderful.
Sanga, for the invitation. It was great. Had a lot of fun. I hope everyone liked what we show you. And thank you for having me as your first guest. I'm very honored. Good
Yeah,
luck, and I'll sure will be watching your videos.
yeah, sure. Thank you. That's one of the cool thing. Always watch videos
Yeah.
or try GitHub repos, try open source project. You will learn something new. Thank you all of you, and please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and please join the Discord community. We are doing lot of one to one. Maybe you can join like any lab community. I have different labs. Give a start to the Okteto repo, and here is the link of Discord channel, and you can just type this command or go to search container labs on internet. You will get somewhere a link to join. Thank you all of you, and thank you Ramiro, thank you
Thanks,
audience, this
Sangam.
is great.
Thank to
And
the audience. And we'll see
yeah,
you online. Don't be a stranger.
yeah,
Say hi.
yeah, I'll be there. Bye.
Bye.
Now